tripod with you and how to set up the tripod, how to work the tripod, and attach the camera to the tripod. So first things first, when you take the tripod out of the bag, it looks like this. Okay, the first thing you need to do is move this piece here, which is called the arm of the tripod. So you loosen this and lift it up and then tighten it again. You want to get that arm out of the way so we can work with the legs. Okay, now when we start working with the legs, we want to slightly open them. You don't want to open them up all the way yet. Okay, I'm going to show you how to get it set up so it's about shoulder height. You don't always have to have the tripod at shoulder height to shoot video, but you typically for interviews and things you'll want it at eye level. Okay, the tripod legs have two sets. So there's the bottom set and the upper set. You always start with the bottom and work your way up. It makes it easier for you. So first things first, I want to do the full bottom set. I'm going to open all three sides. I'm going to lift the tripod and they will just fall down. Then you're going to tighten them. As you tighten them, then you can rest that leg on the ground. So we've gotten almost as tall as we want to be. We want to be a little bit taller than this. So now we're going to open up the top set and lift the head of the tripod to about your shoulder and then tighten the top set. Okay, now that we have the legs set up, we can actually spread the legs. This middle part here that has 3 spots as well is called the spreader. You don't want this to be all the way out until you're done setting up the legs. If you're trying to raise or lower the tripod with this set out like this, it'll be really difficult and it will fight you. So you want the spreader kicked up like that when you're adjusting the tripod, but you want it all the way out when you're done adjusting the height of the tripod. Okay. Next is working with this part, which is called the head of the tripod. I like to adjust this part before I put the camera on it. You can put the camera on it and then do this step. Whichever way works for you, it's the same. So the tripod head needs to be level. So underneath it, there's a little knob there, and then the head will move around. Behind it by the arm, there's a bubble that you need to put in the center. So once you center that up, you retighten the bottom of the tripod head. Okay, so the next thing I'm going to do is put the camera on the tripod. So if you think about the arm where it sticks out as the back of the tripod, you want to take the camera and then push it to the front. You never want to go the other way. It only fits on going forward. Okay? You want to make sure that this little knob here right by the tripod arm is not tightened all the way. If it's tightened all the way, it won't let your camera get on the tripod. So you have to just set it in there, slide it. You'll hear a click, but you'll see that it still moves a little bit. That's what that knob is for. Once you then tighten it, now the camera does not slide back and forth. Okay, now I just want to talk about how you move the tripod when you want to adjust your camera shots. We have panning, which moves the tripod side to side, and tilting, which is up and down. There are locks and, what's the term I'm forgetting because it's been so long? Resistance. Locks and resistance for each one that you have to know. So right now, I can move this because it's not locked. So we have a lock here on one side of the arm and resistance on the other side. This is for tilting. So right now you'll see I can't go up and down. When I loosen this, I can go up and down, right? But it's actually really loose right now. So I can add resistance with this knob so that now it's not as easy to move up and down. You're not going to be doing any shots where you're moving while recording, but this is for when you're framing up and you need to tilt. Then you're going to want to use the lock on the side once you framed up your shot and lock it where you want it to be so that it doesn't start, tilting on its own. Okay, similar system for the panning, only the knobs are in different spots. So the pan lock is underneath the camera, and this red ring around the middle is the pan resistance. Okay, so if I turn this lock, now I can't move the camera. Now I could strong arm and push the camera while locked. You don't want to do that. It actually can break the tripod on the inside parts of the head here. That actually ruins the tripod head. So you don't want to do that. So if it's fighting you, it's probably locked. Okay, let's unlock it. So let's talk about this one. The same situation where you turn this part and it becomes easier or harder to pan. So resistance knobs have this, like the red on them, and then the locks are just these little on the side and then underneath. So when you're shooting, you're going to want to frame up your shot, lock them, record your shot, then you can unlock them, frame up another shot, and do the same thing over and over again. Okay. Okay, so now I'm just going to work through the process basically backwards of what we just did to take the camera off and then to put the tripod away. There is one extra piece when you're trying to take the camera off. So we are going to loosen that knob again. So now it slides back and forth but doesn't come all the way off. There is a button on the opposite side in the back where the arm is, where you have to push it in and then pull the camera back to release it. So this is a release to take it off. You don't have to use this to put the camera on. It's only for taking the camera off. Okay. To take the tripod down, we're going to reverse the process of what I told you, starting with the spreader. So we're going to kick up the spreader slightly. You don't want the legs all the way in, and you don't want them all the way out. Happy medium, okay? We're going to release the legs from the top down to the bottom. You want to make sure that your hands are not underneath the parts that are going to sit together, and you don't want to pinch your fingers. So you always want to hold the tripod head and not where the legs are, because you might get a little pinched finger, okay? So I'm going to loosen all three while holding the head of the tripod so it doesn't fall. Of my top set, drop it down. Lock them. Same thing with the bottom, holding the tripod head. And drop them down. Okay. Now we can pick up that spreader and bring our legs all the way in. And the first step that we started with is also our last step, which is put the tripod arm back. So you loosen that, drop it down so it's like the legs, tighten it back up, and then you can slide this into the bag.